Hey everyone, so I want to do a video today. It's actually on Tasha K mostly. If you read down below, if you watch my other videos, it's normally for the person that I have titled right here, right? Like the subject of my readings. I don't know. We'll see where the direction goes. Maybe I'll go back and forth, but I think for this, I'm mostly going to be addressing you guys. The reason for that is because I don't feel what I'm connected to right now. It doesn't feel as if this is something that she... No, I think I'm wrong. Actually. Sorry, I'm just trying to pick up the information now. So it's basically like... This is kind of like a crossroads, a crossing point. So basically, okay, sorry, I'm just getting all this information. Okay, so here's the thing, is that God, the angelic realm, okay, so read the description below, just if you're new here or whatever, if you haven't done it before, to kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here. So the angelic realm, what I've picked up through all of this is that they're always here for us. They'll always support you in whatever it is, like of holiness, right? Like of goodness to advance your soul. If you deny them, if you go off and want to do your own thing, they respect that. They respect your free will. It's not some sort of like bound contract with you in the sense that you can essentially have with darker forces. And so it's interesting because in truth, like the truth of us, the truth of our soul is God. Like we are a product of God, right? So it's like, if you kind of put it in real world terms, like you can deny your family, like your biological family, and they can respect you for that. Like, okay, fine, you want to like disown yourself from us, that's perfectly fine. But the reality is biologically you're still connected. Like that's still the truth, right? And so that's kind of why I feel that I am mostly addressing you guys than I would be if I were doing a reading directly towards her, because I feel that there was a denial, there was a pulling away, and there is that respect of like, okay, well, if you want to, go ahead. We were always here for you. If you ever choose to come back, if you ever choose to leave again, however, whatever capacity, we're always faithful to you. You know, we love you, and we understand that like you don't have to go through these processes necessarily, but maybe your soul desires it to some capacity. Now, when we talk about karma is different. It's more of like, and that's why I say it's like neither good nor bad. It's the balancing of order within you. And so karma is actually done onto yourself. You are creating the karma in your life on a deeper level, on like a soul level, because your soul wants to achieve balance. It wants to achieve equilibrium. And when I had my vision that everything that I say now, everything that I ever draw upon for all of my readings and all of these beliefs that I have, as I've said before, is not from a religious text. It's not from me reading some sort of like spiritual book or mythical book or whatever kind of thing, or tarot. Like it's none of that. It's all actually within me, and it's within this one vision that I had where it was like inputted information. It's like downloads. It's like I felt peace in a way that I had never understood peace before. I feel like peace was never in my vocabulary. Love was never in my vocabulary. It was always a form of tension for me. It was a form of me reaching for peace. It was a form of me reaching for love, reaching for trying to understand what peace is, reaching for trying to understand what love is. To me, at the time, I was always thinking like peace for me was equivalent to leaving me alone. It's like, leave me alone and I will feel safe. I will feel comfortable because I can protect myself. And that was what peace was to me. And peace can also be equated, because I wasn't a bad person. Like, I'm not a bad person now, but like some of the things that I did weren't savory things. But I always had that awareness. It was because I was trying to have like my defenses up. I was trying to like protect myself, you know, and I was trying to process the things that had happened to me. And because I didn't have that maturity at the time, I could feel it kind of like releasing from me, and it would come out in, you know, like explosive ways. And so what I equated peace for other people was also like giving. It was like being kind, being generous, being loving, understanding that my life was not peaceful. My experiences were not peaceful. So because I understand what peace is not, then I can give that ability, like the space for other people. I can make things easier for other people so that they can find the peace within them, because I had gone through the trenches. I don't want anyone else to have to experience that if I have the resources or the ability to prevent that for someone, right? So that was my understanding of peace. When it comes to love, it's essentially the same thing. I was born into a place of, like, this is probably going to make me a little emotional, but it was a place of not having love. And we can only express and experience and understand love from our personal frame of reference. And so that's something that we all, I think, need to always keep in mind, that even the darkest people, even the most troubled people, they have a choice of how to express love, right? And I don't feel that there's anyone in this world that has never put love out, because that is, again, peace and love is the divine nature of who we are. That is the origin of who we are. Everything else, these toxic behaviors, are products of the lack. And the product of the lack is demonic entities, or whatever kind of like evil that exists, is the denial and the lack of God within us, which is the peace and the love within us. And for us to operate from a limited scope of peace and a limited scope of love doesn't mean that we aren't loving and peaceful people. It's just that we have parts of us that are hidden from us because the walls have been created in order for us to be protected, so that we can, you get what I'm saying? I'm losing myself in my mind because I'm going on to another subject. I'm going to leave it at that, and then I'm going to move on, because this is actually something I wanted to address as well, which is, like, my videos, I hope you understand, I'm going to just kind of like narrow it down again, just remind you again that this is really about guidance for you. It's about figuring it out for you, because if you pick up, like, just like this last thing where I didn't complete myself, it's like, you can complete the sentences for me. There are nuances in the things that I say, and I don't feel that I don't need to just be like so specific. I think maybe later in my life, like in the future of like my own personal journey, maybe I'll have to get to that point of doing that. But it's very difficult for me to do with my train of thought, because even right now I'm channeling information, I'm picking up information, and I need the assistance of you guys, of like you taking personal responsibility to not hang on to every single word that I say, because I'm not going to say it exactly the way that it's coming across necessarily. Like, sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not, but if you understand me, like if you know where I'm coming from, then you can figure it out. Like, you know what I'm saying. Like, you're also engaging not telepathically, but like not intellectual, like, yeah, all of that, but like psychically. and spiritually, I guess we'll say spiritually. And so, yeah, there's two instances that I can pick, like I'm picking up right now, that are being highlighted to me that I can use as examples. So I want to do a video on Aaliyah, and actually it's because of the Doja Cat, right? Now at the end of the video for Doja, I remember, because this is a part of me, like I've said in other videos, like it stays unsettled if I don't just like claw through every single like detail that I wanted to come across, because there's it's not a misinterpretation necessarily. I mean, it is, but it's like they're telling me like different scenarios, and I'm supposed to like discern whatever it is and then like say all of it. But to me, and there is an agreement on this to some capacity, they're saying is like, it doesn't matter the details, right? Like it doesn't really matter with Doja. Like even if she watched my video, it doesn't matter if it comes true or not, or it doesn't matter what comes next, you know, unless it's a specific warning, or if it's reassuring her, or it's confirming something within her or within you guys. That's what matters. It doesn't necessarily, every single detail has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be specific, because if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen in the way that it should, right? So this is, again, this is just like reaffirming the belief within you and understanding within you, and then taking this in your life and being like, there's something there. Like if this is right, if anything that I say is even a little bit right, and it's like, how would that happen? How would that figure out? Then like figure it out for yourself, right? And what does that mean for you? And how can you spiritually evolve through lifetimes? Like what does this mean? Right? And what do we do with this information? And then obviously, well, to me personally, it's obvious that it always concludes back to God. It always concludes back to expanding our awareness of love, expanding our awareness of peace, and truly understanding that what that balance feels like, that equilibrium feels like, having those prophetic visions like I did, which is existing within all of us, because that's like literally like the eternal script. That vision I had is the eternal script. That's where the Bible comes from. That's where, you know, Taoism comes from. That's where the Quran comes from. That's where all of these spiritual truths and beliefs originate from. Not from, you know, I'm not talking like, I'm not even going to get into the other stuff, but that's where those really true divine things of words, everything, it comes from that. And it's all within us. We all have that within us, and that's what we are all on a soul level, we're all trying to get to. And so yeah, so anyway, with Aaliyah and Doja, so at the end of that reading, I was picking up different scenarios. Now that guy that I see, I think it's probably a guy, or this masculine energy that she's connecting with. Now that person doesn't necessarily have to be an artist, in the sense of like a singer or a rapper or a producer. It doesn't have to be that, but I feel like that connection is part of the timeline of her connecting to Aaliyah. I think that Aaliyah has been coming through here and there as part of the divine plan, especially because there's a protective energy that Aaliyah has towards Doja. So that's kind of been leaking through, like a spiritual bleed through into Doja's life, leading her into the position that she's going to be in, or she has been in, as far as what I talked about in that video. So I just want to clarify with that guy might be completely separate, right? And then some people being jealous. I mean, everyone's going to be jealous. Not everyone, but a lot of people are going to be jealous of her for an array of reasons. Now, this could also be because, like, why is Aaliyah choosing her? You know, everyone loves Aaliyah. A lot of people love Aaliyah and probably want that. But you can't bound a soul. I'm sorry. Whatever belief you have, it's not necessarily true. Unless you allow yourself to be bound. But anyway, that's getting too much into that. I just wanted, that's an example right there. So pay attention to that. I don't know how there would be like proof of all of this, as far as like what I say with Aaliyah and all that. I have no idea, but just pay attention to that, because that is going to be important later. And I really do think that there's like, again, like different ways that might come through, whether, you know, it's like Doja and this guy in this studio, and he's just like with her, or she's just like thinking about him and like texting him or calling him or talking to him, or he has connections to other people in the industry that would lead her to doing whatever kind of project she's going to be doing, or if he is directly like with her making music and like doing, I don't know. That's one instance. There was another instance that I did a video. I want to talk, I want to say that it was like what happens when we die, like this last one where I was talking about a collapsing star. I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not, you know, any of those things. So I don't exactly know. I know I have Google, but this is part of like me telling you guys that for a long time, I've been like pretty much in this like self-imposed in prison for myself, where I'm not looking into different concepts. And I feel like the reason why I was guided to do this, because if you knew me as a person, I am very studious. I love learning. And so for me to be disciplined enough to put that aside for so long and to focus on spirituality, that had its own purpose. And now I am at a point where I'm allowed to kind of like look into other concepts in life, and in spirituality, but I've become comfortable. Like I've become comfortable, and through that I'm kind of like, I'm just nervous. I'm not nervous, I'm not actually scared. It doesn't feel like a nervousness. It just feels like, I don't know. It's a lot to think about, I guess. But anyway, so that's another example, because if anyone understands the way that stars work, or the way that energy and mass, well, I think mass is, I don't know, the way that it's created, then you would understand where that might be incorrect, because they're highlighting that of like the way that I described it, where I don't know if like, I don't know what a star is. Is it just like a burst of energy, and then energy creates mass, like does that create density? But that's kind of an example of how it's right, but the way that I describe it is in a way of my own frame of understanding, my own frame of reference, because they're telling me sorry, I'm just laughing because they're like, we're telling you exactly what it is, but you're just not saying it like they're saying it right now. But anyway, that's just an example. So okay, basically, like if a star, like, I don't know why I'm telling you guys, this just feels like it's important though, so I'm gonna tell you. It's like a star collapses, it fades, like it collapses, and it like folds into itself. It kind of looks like, the way it looks to me is like if you put stuff in a blender and then, you know, in the center it folds in like that, it folds in, and then it creates mass, it creates density, it creates something very solid and extremely heavy. And that's the soul, the journey of the soul, like the human experience. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's just a lot. Okay, so anyway, so we're talking about Tasha, and talking to Tasha, and I think all of that kind of ties in because I feel abandoned. I feel abandonment. I feel like I'm being drawn to like all these thoughts that I've been having lately of like things that I wanted to talk about in readings, like subjects that I wanted to talk about, where basically like I was thinking about like the origins of the United States and the visions that I've had. Like it's intuitive and it's also visions, like it's guiding me towards this. Because Earth is like experimental in the sense of like the physical and the spiritual connect together and then we kind of like do both, right? Like we can forever exist in thought and in spirit and in belief, but until we put it into physical action, it only exists in there, you know? And then if we just like physically move around and everything and we deny spirit, then it just exists in the world. So it has that combination of like that karmic balance, right? Of like light and dark or good, bad, however you want to perceive that. And so the United States of America is also in a different sense, it's an experimental country where beliefs and concepts from around the world exist, and then they were put into this very big country, and then they kind of like play out. Who is they? It's like world leaders, this is part of videos that I'm set to release later that I still need to go through, but I don't know if I've ever released, I don't know if I've ever said this. Actually, it just is drawing me back then. And I can't remember what was in there, but that there was, I'm sorry, I'm just getting over, I'm thinking about like Eazy-E and all this stuff that I heard last year, but basically, or maybe it was 2 years old. Anyway, so basically like this world, this country, United States, the world leaders, right, from other places, they throw their concepts here into the United States to try and see the way that it works, like how it interacts, and then they can kind of like because if you think like Australia and all these like Germany, all these places, they're small, right? And even China's large, but they're under dictatorship, they're very controlled. And so from there you could take these like extreme concepts and essentially like brainwash them, and then you can take those concepts and then throw it into the United States and try and dismantle piece by piece, and then see how that interacts. Because this is like going all off on a tangent, but there is an attempt to divide the United States because we are such a huge powerhouse of different beliefs and different concepts, and the United States is very, very special. I'm sorry, it's like, it seems like I'm going on a tangent. It's connected, I don't know how right this second, but it is connected. I'm just trying to read into it. I'm just trying to hear. I think the biggest thing that what is being told to me that they're trying to explain is basically like, you can take all of our different beliefs, right? And we have Tasha, who has her own beliefs and her own way of living and her own life and her own experiences and her own world, but she's free to exist in that way if she so chooses. And so that's kind of a representation of the United States. And I think basically what they're saying is to allow her that freedom of expression and that freedom of belief, because she's allowed to. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do, but if you understand her, then it would make more sense. And I'm hearing like she couldn't act out if she didn't have an audience. She couldn't act out if she didn't have an audience, but that her having, like her going through this is allowing her to be connected to people and to other concepts that she wouldn't have if she would have kept herself closed off. Because there is a belief system within her life experience, is what I'm saying, is like, for I'm going to switch over for a second, as if I'm speaking to you, Tasha. So Tasha, what I see for you is this emphasis on the family dynamic of being separated, of not having a healthy understanding of what a relationship should be. It's kind of like having, it's going back to me where it's that tension, and peace being, having peace means being left alone. Having peace means having my walls up, being protected by being protective. And that if I'm gonna suffer, I can suffer together. It's like staying within suffering. Like suffering means that I'm doing something. You know what I mean? Like that kind of equates to success for me, because if I'm going through it, that means I'm strong enough to handle it. You know, if I'm peaceful, if I feel happy, peaceful, whatever, at ease, then I'm not only being lazy, but I'm being stupid, is what I'm hearing. It's like, oh, well, you're stupid because people are going to be, like, people are plotting against you. They're always plotting against you. And I feel like possibly that the family dynamic was of mistrust, and yet standing behind it because that's what you are supposed to do. Like that's what was that was your example as you grew up, is like it's potentially violent or mistrusting, but loyalty matters. Loyalty above you know, like that's honor and respect, is being loyal, despite the mistreatment, the abuse, or whatever. And so that's what I see. And I also, side note, I did see, like, if you watch the Cardi B video, I don't know if she said demon. Some people are calling Tasha a demon or whatever. And I've talked about that in the past, whatever. But also, pay attention to you saying that, people who say that. In the sense of, like, is that just conjecture to you? Like, do you feel it's conjecture, or do you genuinely believe that? Because it's the ones that who say it as this, like, oh, just like flippantly saying it. Sometimes people will say things thinking that they're being flippant because they're picking it up, right? Like you're spiritually picking it up, but not necessarily realizing it. And so it comes out like jokingly. I do this all the time. It comes out jokingly, but then it's actually like real. So just like pay attention to the way that you talk about things, and then kind of like analyze it. Like, why would I have said that? Like, that's kind of very interesting, right, to bring that up. And not to necessarily, see, because here's the thing, back to you, Tasha, is like, you have a choice, right? Like, you have a choice, and I feel you've kind of made your choice already. You've made your decisions, but the lesson learned maybe from watching you, is that if you so choose, you could always change your choice. Like, there's not any punishment for that, right? You're met with grace and love and understanding and compassion, that, you know, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. Like, you're allowed to choose whatever you want to choose. Faithfulness, spirituality, God, like, it's not a dictatorship. It's not a means of control for you. It's a means of you experiencing life, you know, as a soul, unbound by anything that you don't want to be bound by. It's your choice, you know. And I think, like, a healthy parent is displayed through God, in the sense that you are allowed to do whatever you want, make whatever troubles you want to make if you so choose. If anything, like, divine intervention comes through in profound ways to kind of like wake you up, in a sense of them being like, hey, like, you need to stop it, right? And that's when you are in a very dangerous position, right? They don't intervene to, like, stop you from doing something they don't like. But if you're gonna run and jump off a cliff where you're gonna cause harm to yourself, so in essence it would be spiritual harm, like really, really bad harm to yourself, and you're off your path, then they're gonna step in and be like, hey, snap out of it, you know. But you still have that choice to jump off the cliff. They're gonna try and stop you, you know, but that's your choice. And so that's what I see. That's what I see with you. I'm gonna get more deeper into this reading, but I do also want to point out too, because I've seen people say this in some of my other readings, and it's like, why don't you do blah 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 blah? And the thing is for me personally, it's spiritual abuse for me to, like, dig too much. Like, what I tell you guys in all these readings is what comes to me. It's not me digging into these people's personal lives. This is what's being told to me, because this is, if you read below, this is what's most significant to them at the time. This is what needs to be addressed at the time, for whatever reason is relevant to that celebrity and to whomever might be watching, that, you know, this is somehow relevant to you in your path or whatever, however way it works, right? Even if it's just entertainment, you're still, in some capacity, you're still feeling me. You can feel me energetically, whether you're aware of this or not. That's why it's important to really pay attention to the people around you and what you're watching or whatever, but not to scare you guys or anything. It's not like meant to be scary. It's not scary, because if you're protected, you're protected. Point blank. Like, that's it. But positive things can only expand it. You can jump off of that and become, anyway, whatever. But that's why I don't look into, like, all these things or whatever for, like, pure entertainment in that way, in like a gossipy way, because, you know, maybe everyone has their place in that as far as like these readers, psychics, or whatever they're doing. I don't know. But for me personally, that's what I was told even as a child, is to not, like, I need to be obedient with this. Like, I need to do this the right way. I think I used to not, probably in many past lives, and I was very problematic probably in a lot of past lives. So, you know, I'm making the choice. I've continuously made the choice, and I think that's the right thing to do. So that's why. If it doesn't come to me and I stay within the confines of what is acceptable, and if I am told to stop, then I stop, right? So just to kind of clarify with that, I'm going to turn the camera off and just like sit here for a second, and then I'm going to start, like, I'm going to do a direct reading to you, Tasha, like a direct reading. All right. So, Tasha, I'm gonna talk back about what I said recently. So about this, like, you feeling protective, you feeling loyal. I'm not gonna lie, like, it reminds me of, like, I've done readings for, like, people who are in organizations. It feels very similar to that, in the sense that it's like the women in that are very masculine. They're very, 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 very masculine, and it's, you have to be, in the sense of, like, when we talk about masculinity, and if we talk about, like, divine masculine too, so it's like the masculinity that exists within you, because we all have that, right? Like, we have masculine and feminine aspects within us that need to become balanced, and then how we're represented in this world, in this physical world. So if you're a female, 99% of the time, 98% of the time, you are actually, from the beginning of time, the divine feminine. And so overall, even though you have those balanced aspects within you, you also overall are the divine feminine. Okay, so assuming that you're the divine feminine, which I feel that you are, and I feel I'm getting these, like, it's emphasized very strong of, like, goddess energy, priestess energy, like, very strong. And this isn't pointing towards your spiritual path in the sense of, like, because none of that is welcome in this reading. None of that is being picked up in this reading. So don't overanalyze and make it seem as if something that it's not. That is a manipulation on your soul. It's not a manipulation on your soul. It's a manipulation on your perspective, is what it is. It's tricking you into believing something that is actually not the truth, because it's hiding the truth. It's like giving you half truths. So it's tapping into who you are in your divine nature, which is a very, very goddess type of woman, and then it's twisting it and telling you that, reaffirming that truth within you, within your soul, and then you twisting it and believing that because that's more acceptable, because you feel denied from your past because you didn't fully understand your past, which is completely understandable because you were in a very tumultuous time as a child into adulthood. You haven't had a break. You've never had a break from that, I don't feel. There were moments you had a break, but it was like you felt that you made that break for yourself. It's like, I did this. I carved this piece out for me. I carved this out for me. And so that's why I have that. But anyway, that's where that is. It's manipulation on your reality. When you cut that part out of you, when you don't allow that into your energy anymore, you will see your divine nature, which is the whole truth, not the hidden truth, and the manipulated truth. There is something very powerful about you. Extremely powerful. You again, this brings me back. I think, oh Lord, this brings me back. This is why I freaking get it now. Okay, so when I was talking about the United States of America, listen, I don't think I've ever said this. I'm going to tell you guys now. I'll talk about it later. The United States of America was founded. This is my belief. I don't know, whatever. This is what I got in vision. It was created and curated by world leaders who brought in men from different areas that were to create a place that was it was taking all of their concepts and then powerhousing it into this huge country. Okay? And in this huge country, they would mask as if it's a free world, when in reality it's masked as freedom. Freedom is not necessarily true. It's the chains of misperception, right? Because we're still falling in line to all of their trickery. They're tricking us through media, through everything. They're poisoning us, all of this stuff, right? And so it's actually, sorry, it's so much, okay? Because I feel, Tasha, a past life, you were a very powerful woman. You're a very strong woman. And it was something towards, like, it's towards the beginning of the creation of the United States of America. So this is after people have come here, Florida, South Carolina, wherever they're coming in at and conquering. It's after that. It's the colonies, creating the colonies. It's creating the foundation, the true foundation of the United States of America. And you were there. I feel you were there somehow. You were somehow deeply connected to the foundation of the United States of America. This sounds like, oh, whatever. I genuinely believe this because there's something about you that was silenced. You were silenced. I don't think that you were a black woman then. I don't even think, I mean, they would have brought slaves with them at the time. But I don't think, like, if anything, I think that you would have been somehow like I think that you would have been silenced, like, because you had this core belief of equality even back then. I don't know where you would have been if there was any sort of, like, archaeological, like, information about you, like, historical information about you, like, who you would be. I feel, I don't know if you would have a big role necessarily with that. But you would have been there. Like, if you were within a colony and you were purporting, this is not right, this is not fair. I don't think that you, that's because what I'm being drawn is, like, some European country and then, like, boated here, like being brought over, and is, like, the word shackles, like, I'm hearing shackles. It's like you would have witnessed them in shackles, or, like, you would have been, there's something about that, like, were you a woman? It's like you were a woman, but you were still the divine masculine in that. Like, you were very masculine and you felt protective, very protective. And that's how it's being represented. That's why it's coming up again. So, like, through lifetimes, like human lifetimes, what happens is, like, these micro experiences of our lifetimes, it kind of bubbles back up to the surface to, like, remind us. It's like spiritual reminders of our past, and also, like, things that need to come up to heal completely. And so this should be reminiscent of something in your life, but also reminiscent in the way that your life is being represented now, where it's like you want to stand for something, but then somehow it gets twisted and you stand against it. Like you're not, like this is not your nature, but you've chosen to go with like the status quo kind of thing. Like you're going with it, and then in turn that turns into like chaos in your life. It turns into chaos. And so it's like loyalty. The way that I would distinguish it with this past life would be this loyalty within your life now. Because I feel like I know you have a husband, I know you have a baby, I don't know how many children or whatever it feels like is separate, right? They're like separate from you. And it's like, it feels like you are the matriarch, right? But in the sense of like the masculinity within the matriarchy, like you're very, like you feel like you have to be strong, you feel like you have to be the stable one, you have to be the provider, you have to be all of this, without the nurturing aspects returned to you. So then it's like you don't have the capacity, because you can only do so much. Like as a person, you can only do so much. And so, it's like you need help, but it's not, it's like you could use outside help. Like if you had, like a babysitter, or like I'm hearing like it's cutting through all that and the message that I'm getting, and I feel like this is from like your higher self. I don't know if this is really, it's like from you though, it's like welling up with you, where it's like I never had a chance to be a child, and so I'm having children, or like I had a kid, but I never, like now I have to heal myself. Like I'm realizing there's things that need to be healed, or I knew there was something that needed to be healed. How do I have the capacity and the time to like work through this and heal myself when I'm also raising someone? Or these people, like I have to raise these people. And so it's like I want to do my best. I want to be my best and do my best. And so this is just what I'm gonna do. Like as far as like, it's kind of like, then you revert back to how it's like I'm doing my best, but this is like the core foundation is like that loyalty at all costs type thing. But that it's like I know within that of what was wrong. And I feel like that's not necessarily detrimental. So I can be my best within the privacy of that. And then just, you see what I'm saying? Like this, it's fragmented off of like your work persona, your family persona. But there's a deep imbalance in all of it because you need time. Like you need time and space to heal. And this is also tied deeply back because you're a very powerful person. You're very, very, very powerful. And even back then, it's like it was weaponized against you. Now, you're not a victim today, right? Like you're not a victim in that because it's like you knew it's a survival mode. Like you know your power, you know your worth to some capacity, so you were able to use that in order to get ahead because you want to do what's right for your family and you want to do something that is like good for them. And so it's like I will take that fall, or I will take that position, that leadership position, and do that. That's where that's rooted in. And yet in a way, I think you could agree that it's not necessarily like the healthiest things, but it's what gets people watching, or it gets people, and from watching that gets you money, and from getting you money that gets you like sponsorships or whatever it is. And that's okay, is what I'm hearing from your guardian angels, is like they're saying like that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over that. Don't think that we're trying to punish you, or it's like some sort of vindication coming. Like, it's not that. It's actually okay. Because we know where your heart is. Like, we know your heart. We know you. And we know that everyone's capable of doing different things or making mistakes, and how that affects other people. But we also want you to know you have choices in life. You have choices. Don't think that you don't have choices. Don't think that you don't have those liberties and freedoms. Don't confine yourself to that, because there are other options. There are other possibilities for you. And how that connects again to this past life is like you were such a powerhouse then. You have a lot of people, a lot of eyes on you. You have a lot of people who listen to you and who believe you. But you had to be loyal. And I think then there was a practical sense to it. Like, if you look at it like from an anthropological sense, you probably had to stay within the confines of this colony or whomever, because the survivorship, right? And I think maybe there was also that explanation to you that slaves needed to help build, but you had that awareness and understanding, like, that there should be better treatment, that they shouldn't be perceived as just like animals or workhorses or whatever they were perceived as. Like, it's not just, I'm seeing them, and I'm also aware of this historically, but I'm seeing like they're not just African slaves. Like, so this would kind of timeline you of where or when or however in your past life, or maybe you've had like memories of this, like regression of this. But they also look like aboriginal, not aboriginal, is that the word? It's like almost like Mayans or something. I don't know how to describe, like Asians. They look like Asians, where like their heads are kind of like wider and like dark hair and like tan skin, but you can tell that they're like Asian or like East Asian or something like that. And I see from your perspective, like you're looking at them and it's like grieving, like you're grieving inside, and there's tension, a lot of stress and tension, because it feels flip-flop, you know? The world says one thing, like the people around you say one thing, but internally it feels different. And you can also think about that in the world, in this world, in real life, of how that exists, you know, where the world tells you something about how to conduct your life, how to live your life, and then in spirit it tells you something else. Like, it's a push-pull. It's like the truth is, it feels like you're crazy, right? It feels like, it's like, I'm telling you, but then why is it, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's look at these cards. I mean, this is essentially what I'm saying. Is divine masculine in alignment. You know, I think this is what I say is the truth. I think, you know, sometimes I say, oh, I fluctuate here and there. That is very much true. That is very, very true. There's many factors, right, as to where I fluctuate with my accuracy. I feel this is the truth. I do. That when you recognize your divine nature and the divine order of things, and you acknowledge in truth, not in a tension type of way, that you are truly a goddess, truly a divine goddess, that's going to unlock your, it's unlocking your femininity in a way that balances you out. It balances you out because you need to be nurtured. You need to be nurtured, and you need the spiritual nature of the feminine, because when we talk about the female is very powerful. She's very powerful. She in truth, I believe, the link. She is the link to God. And this is also tying back to the beginning of time, and also the beginning of the structure of the United States of America, which was founded upon men, specifically on men within secret societies that were delivering half-truths, one nation under God. However, it was under the half-truths of God. When we talk about like the Freemasons and whatnot, it's half-truths. Why it's half-truths? Because again, as we talked about, everything, it's tied into you, Tasha, everything I just said. But a secret society that is it's like the HOA, right? These secret societies are like the HOA. It's just a means of creating a fortune, okay? It's using spirituality to create fortune. It's so it's like who's who in society, right? And so you help one another in order to build upon that. And you know, God is not a secret. It's not a secret. It should never be kept secret. And that's the ego. That's the ego of we have information that's like, you have to earn it. You do not earn God. You do not earn spirituality. You do not earn love. You do not earn peace. It is given to you. It is your divine right to have peace. It is your right to have love. That is not something you earn. Never, 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 never. In God's true nature, truth is not earned. It is given. It is your right to know. And this past in you, I think you have the healing that has to occur, that should occur, that wants to occur within you, is for you to know that you're not crazy. Like, that's what I'm hearing, is like, you're right. You're right. You're right. These concepts that you believe, and I think that is, and maybe that's why it was represented in your personal life, is like, loyalty over what? Like, I deserve, and I don't need to earn it through jumping through hoops. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be respected. I deserve to be honored. I deserve all of these good things. That is what is right. That is what is fair. That is what's holy. There is no leadership or like, you know, there's like different tiers, you know, and it's like, when you're ready, yada, 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 yada. It's like, in some form, yes, I get that. Like, there is some order to that. But again, that's where the half-truths come in, because they've taken that and manipulated it into being some hierarchy, right? Am I making sense? I mean, I know I am, but whatever. Anyway, so the recommendation, like the advice that I'm getting here, honestly, is like, be girly. Like, it's okay to be girly. It's like being really, really girly. Like, as girly as you can possibly be. Like, demure. Like, play. Like, even if you're not, like, I've never been demure or whatever. Just play demure. Like, put on, like, those huge, you know, like, the back in the day, those huge gowns with, like, the cages. And then, like, the big lace umbrellas, like, just, and then they have, like, the fainting chair, because, like, actually, truly, the fainting chair, they had those because they thought that women were so, like, delicate, but in truth, it's because you're wearing these outfits and you're constricting your breath, and it's very torturous, so you're naturally gonna faint. It's not because they're so delicate like a flower, but be delicate. Like, just do that and play, and from playing it, like playing that part and tapping into that, is gonna allow you to explore that. And then from there, it's kind of like going through the processes of being a child again, like being a baby girl, and then into womanhood in a more balanced aspect of, like, inviting more femininity, which I'm sure there's tons and tons of, like, information out there of, like, divine feminine and divine masculine aspects of, like, the healed versions or whatever. I'm sure there has to be. And so I would just, like, look into that and see how that can be emulated in your life, because that's what I wanted to talk about with, like, I keep, like, skipping over this, but it's created, like, the world leader, it's men. It's men, and the secret societies are created of men. The philosophers are all men, except for one. He was asexual, I believe, and he's the best. But anyhow, they are the action seekers. They are of this world. This is what I saw in a vision. The man, the divine masculine, is the physical world. They are the masters of the physical world and of practicality. And in truth, you put a female and a man side by side, they fight. Like, the man by nature is much bigger and stronger physiologically than a woman, right? The woman by nature, you think the majority of these people watching here are probably women, but it's like, we're more spiritual, right? We're more analytical. Well, I was going to say analytical. We're not analytical, actually. The men are. We're more social risk takers than men. The men need a leader, in truth. They need a balanced female to lead. We are the vessels for which the men even exist. That's why I'm actually... I get the whole science, yada, yada, yada. I won't even get into it. I'm not going to get into that in this, but you could probably see where I'm going with that if you think. Anyway, the woman is very, very sacred. The man is too. He definitely is. But the sacredness, the link, the true link is in the woman. That's why, even in these societies, and those of you, if there's any celebrity, well, you don't even have to be celebrity, you hire people, you know who is in charge in there. The woman is. The woman witch, the woman, I won't say the other things that they are, but they are, it's not a bad word, but anyway. But the woman is the one that is connecting to the spiritual world. They're actually being pawned because they're unbalanced women. These men are capitalizing on the dysfunctional woman because they know, but they are unbalanced. And so it has to start with us women. It has to. We're very, 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 very special. I mean, men are too. We need the man. We obviously need the man. This is not one of those, the men are gone, let's revolt. It's not that. We need the man. Because we need that groundedness. We do. Otherwise we'll be floating off in the space, like spacey women. We need the man to master and to conquer the world in a healthy and balanced way, and to protect the woman, to protect the spirit, so that she can be free to explore spiritually, and that he can connect like a balloon on a string, like he has to hold that balloon so she doesn't go flying off into the atmosphere. But he would not know without her. He would not know love without her. The woman discovers the love. Again, we have those aspects within us. So the man has these aspects. He does these. But in his nature, his whole nature, even though he has this balanced spiritual feminine aspect and the nurturing aspect and the loving aspect and the intuitive aspects, he also has the masculine aspects as well, right? And so it's like the action taker, the practical nature, all of these things. But overall, he needs, as a balanced man, he needs to be structured as a man, as math, like really into engineering and architecture and mathematics. Like that's usually the man, because that's a divine masculine thing. It's not like, women can exist in that, but I'm saying, I'm going on a tangent that's just gonna dig me into a hole, because you get what I'm saying though. And then because I'm putting worldly concepts that women can exist and be very strong in, and then applying it to the spiritual aspect. So that's why I'm like, wrong, like way to turn, because yeah. So anyway, but not to beat a dead horse. That's probably also bad. Sorry, horses. But anyway, look into that. I feel that this is it's not necessarily a crossroads. Like, I don't feel that you're at a crossroads. I don't. I think this is like options. Your options have always been open for you. It'd be like you going down this open road, and there are other roads, right? Like crossroads, and you've seen them, but you don't really care, because you know where you're headed. And that's like the comfortable, you know where you're headed because that's like the path. Like, let's say that you're on a carriage, and that's the path that's most paved. That's the path of your ancestors. That's the path of your friends. That's the path that you know, right? Because even though you haven't delivered yourself through that path on your own, you've been told that, you've been instructed that, they've talked about that path, and a couple of them have gone down other paths, but you don't really connect to them. You don't talk to them anymore, so you don't really know. And so that's kind of where you're headed. And so now it's like, let's say like as you're going down there and you're on the carriage, you're reading a book, and you look up, and you're in your like big fancy umbrella, and you have your beautiful dress on, and you're going down it, and you look up from your book or from your journal. Let's say you're journaling. I think that's a better thing. It's like you're journaling about your life and your desires and your dreams, and you look up and you're like, you know what? It's a beautiful day. And the wildflowers are really inspiring me. The songbirds are inspiring me. Those bees over there, the butterflies. you know what? Let's take a different path today. Let's just explore. Let's just have fun. Let's just see, you know? And if I need to go back on that other path, I'll figure it out. I've heard about it long enough. I've known it long enough. I'm confident that I can get back there. And even if, you know, like I have to just like charter through these tall grasses, I'll do it. I don't care. Because I know that path more than anything, right? I know that more than anything. So let me just see what else is out there. And that's the direction I see in you. It's like I'm hearing like pocket, and then I heard like Polly Pocket. You know those Polly Pockets? They're like those little toys. It was like a heart toy, like like this. It's like a Polly Pocket, and it had like the little figurines, like plastic girls or whatever you play, and it's like a pocket of heart, like a pocket of your heart. It's like you're opening it into this like mystical part of your mind. I don't know. It's like these unexplored parts of your mind, and I think it's like it's gonna hit you. It's gonna hit you very strongly, like where you kind of like, again, it's like looking up from there and seeing the world and seeing the sky and being like, I could do something different. I don't just because everyone told me to do this doesn't mean I have to do it. Like I'm strong enough to do whatever I want. And I'm like well equipped. And I'm my own person, you know, like I'm an individual person. I am an individual soul. I don't like who's stopping me? Who's stopping me? In this world, like even like the things that we do, like the concepts that we have, the jobs that we have, the like not just career, but even just like societal pressures that we put on ourselves, and the things that we're supposed to like or not like, you know, all of this stuff. It's like you have a choice. You actually have a choice. So I'm just gonna try different. I'm just gonna try something else out. I don't know. It seems really, really good. Really, really good. Really, really beautiful. And I'm gonna pull one more card for you, and that's it. Okay. I just, they love you so much. It's like that. It's like, we love you, we love you, we love you, we love you so much. It's like, I do want to say, I will go back to that first memory. And this is something I truly believe, so I'm going to say it. Because I think in your soul, this would heal a part of you. Is that those people that you had good intention towards, that you helped. It would be like if you were like sneaking them food, or you were like companionships to them. Like it's like you couldn't break people from keeping them enslaved, you know, and that would have you would have probably been in like actual problem, like they would probably kill you or something for being a problem, a risk to this colony or society or whatever that you are. But these other souls, they thank you, they honor you, they love you. It's like them saying like collectively, and your guardian angels, and just there's so many spirits that are genuinely thanking you, like genuinely saying thank you. You are so unforgettable to us, and we love you so much. You've done so much good for these young voices, these like shackled young voices. And there are times in this lifetime that you have crossed paths with some that have reincarnated. And you can feel their spirit, those who have, it's like the spirit of the past. It's like aspects of a soul, like not remembered anymore in this life. Like they're not remembered, but they carry on. The memory carries on. The truth, the history, it can't disappear in the sense of like, even if it's from history, it still happened. Like that, those people still existed. They still matter, you know. And it's kind of like this, showing me like a representation of like, even us, like you feel like, oh, I don't matter, like in the greater scheme, like no one will remember me from however long from now. And it's not true. Like you still existed, you still did something, you still impacted the world. Like you matter. That will never go away. This life, this experience, this memory, it'll forever be here, imprinted on everyone. So we have contemplation time. Spend time alone meditating upon what you truly desire. I just feel like this is like the representation is like you jump out the carriage and you're like, I'm gonna go lay in this grass. I don't know, why not? Like that wasn't it wasn't an option in your mind before because no one ever did it, you know. So you're just kind of doing what everyone did, but then it's like that was not socially acceptable. It's not even that it wasn't acceptable. It's like, why would you do that? Why not? Like, why not? That looks fun. And so I kind of see that represented in your life somehow, is like the why not. So that's my reading, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.